Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Bethany, and today I'm going to be doing a video about retaining length on natural hair. So as us curly girls, of course, like one of our biggest goals a lot of the times, well, for a lot of us, not all of us, but for a lot of us, is to grow our hair and to grow long hair. And the misconception with this whole thing is like, oh, my hair grows slow. I've heard that so many times, like my hair doesn't grow fast, your hair grows fast. Well, hair grows at the same rate and it's always growing. The main thing with length is retaining the length. So basically, once your hair grows out, if the ends are damaged and they break off, then you're basically losing hair just as fast as you're growing hair. So your hair seems like it's staying the same length when in fact it is staying the same length, but not because it's not growing, it's just staying the same length only because it's breaking off at the same time. So I want to share some tips with you guys, basically to help you guys understand more about this and to help you retain as much length as possible and to grow your hair as long as possible. So with that being said, my very first tip is basically to keep color and heat on your hair to a minimum. For me, this was a big thing that helped me retain a lot of length in my hair. I went through a phase where my hair was kind of like, it was growing and I could tell it was growing because it was colored, so I could see it growing out, but it was kind of staying the same length at the same time. It didn't seem like it was getting longer. And I realized that my hair was breaking off because it was damaged and dry. And so this is kind of when I started the journey of using less heat. That was the first thing that I did. And then I stopped coloring my hair. And that was when I saw like dramatic results. And not specifically just coloring, but like lightening my hair. When my hair was get like lighter and lighter and lighter, it was just like drier and drier and drier. And dry hair equals brittle hair, which equals breakage. So you really want to keep the heat and the color to a minimum, especially bleach. It's just really doesn't do good for your hair. So that's one thing I would definitely look out for as when it comes to, retaining length. Just look out for, how much am I using heat on my hair. I straighten my hair probably 2 to 3 times a year, probably like 4 times tops. And then I'm always making sure that I'm using a heat protecting system. I'm always making sure that I'm protecting my hair. When my hair was colored, you guys, it was like I could visibly see the breakage whenever I would straighten my hair. Those two together were like a match made in hell for my hair. Literally, like whenever my hair was blonde, I straightened it, like I could visibly see pieces of my hair breaking off every single day, and my hair was noticeably shorter. I would have to get a trim every time after straightening. So it's definitely a big difference when you minimize the heat and color to your hair when you want to retain the length. So the next step is basically keeping your ends clipped. The same way as before, when you have damage on the ends of your hair, it breaks off. So the best way to do that is to minimize the amount of damage that occurs. So if you have split ends, it's important to get them trimmed off. That way your hair can grow healthy and stay as healthy as possible. Basically how it works is like, if this is a strand of hair, just like both of my fingers is one strand, if you have it split a little bit at the bottom, just like that, like you can just clip that off and you'll still have a healthy strand. But if you decide to leave it there because you don't want to let go of your dead ends, then that hair will actually split all the way up the hair shaft and cause way more damage and way more breakage than if you had just got rid of it in the first place. So it's definitely important to keep your ends clipped and trimmed. I trim my ends like maybe every 3 to 4 months, like really not super often, but I can always tell when I need a good trim. And you can minimize the amount of trims you need by following some of these other steps that I give you on keeping your hair and your ends as healthy as possible. So my third tip is basically about keeping your hair moisturized and conditioned. Everybody's hair needs some type of moisture in some way. A lot of us, we have natural moisture in our hair that, comes from the oil, our oil glands and our scalp, but also the ends of our hair, especially for curly hair and textured hair. The ends of our hair tends to be dry because it takes a whole lot more for that natural oil to travel down our hair because it has to go around all these loops and curves. Whereas if you had straight hair, it would be easier for it to move throughout the hair. That's why usually people with naturally straight hair have to wash their hair a lot more often than people with textured hair, because for that very exact reason. So when it comes to making sure your hair is moisturized, you also want to make sure it's balanced. You want to balance the moisture and the protein. If you don't know your hair type, definitely check out my video about finding out what your hair type is. It's going to be a very good informational video for you, but find out if your hair needs more moisture or more protein. Either way can be detrimental to your hair and cause breakage. So if you have too much moisture, that could be bad for your hair. Not enough moisture, that can be bad for your hair. Too much protein can be bad for your hair. It can cause it to be brittle and to break off. And not enough protein, again, because protein is what hair is made of. It strengthens the hair. There's a really good protein treatment that I like. I did a video on it recently. Definitely check it out. It's by Apogee. It's a 2-step protein treatment. So there are things that you can do if you need more moisture. I want to talk about a couple of deep conditioners that are my favorite. I have them right here. So my first favorite, this is one of my very favorites, is the Shea Moisture Jamaican Black Castor Oil. It's the Strengthen, Grow, and Restore Treatment Mask. This always makes my hair so soft, and I really, really love this. Also by Shea Moisture is the Manuka Honey and Mafura Oil Intensive Hydration Hair Mask. Both of these I really, really like as deep conditioners for my hair. And then I also mentioned the protein treatment. So you just want to make sure, pay attention to your hair. Everyone's hair needs something different or needs something a little bit different. So just make sure you're paying attention to what your hair needs and just try to take care of it as best as possible with those two things. But my other video on finding out your hair type will really help you with that if you haven't seen it already. So I would definitely, like I said, recommend checking that video out. So my next tip is basically about being patient with your hair. And I don't mean with like waiting for it to grow, but I mean as far as when you're handling your hair, be patient. Don't try to rush through the processes. Basically, if you try to just comb through your hair and brush through it, detangle it really, really fast, you can cause a lot of breakage to your hair. So you really want to take your time, even when it comes to shampooing your hair. I used to just throw shampoo in my hair and just wash my hair, but I realized that when I was shampooing my hair, I was causing so much more tangles in my hair. Then when I put the conditioner in and had to detangle, it took so much longer and it was way more taxing. Is it taxing or tasking? I think it's taxing. But yeah, so it just causes a whole lot more labor and work. So you just want to work the shampoo into your roots and then kind of use 2 hands to smooth it through the ends. You don't need a whole lot of scrubbing with your ends because that can just cause breakage to your hair. And then when you do go to condition and detangle, you want to work in sections. Always start from the very bottom of your hair with a comb or a brush. A tangle teaser is really, really good for that. A tangle teaser is literally hands down the best thing to detangle your hair ever. So you want to make sure your hair is wet, saturated, and you want to start at the bottom and work your way up and work in sections. That way you know you're not breaking any of your hair off. You're minimizing the amount of breakage that happens every time you wash your hair. So that's going to be a big thing in helping retain your length. So my next tip is also about detangling, but this one is specific to a certain area of your head. So the nape of your neck, which is this area back here, so all the hair underneath of here, all in here, is hair that tends to get very, very matted and tangled. And if you have curly hair or textured hair, I know you already know this. This hair can become a nightmare. And one thing I noticed is that after day 2 or 3, it would just get matted back there. When you think about it, you're moving your head, you're wearing clothes, especially if you wear a hood or something with a higher neck. It's all getting bunched up in here. When you turn your head, it moves. The rest of your hair can remain unbothered throughout the day, but that part is really getting a lot of friction and tension, so it's easy for it to get all matted up. Even when I put my hair up in a pineapple at night, that's the part that's exposed. So it's important to detangle that part more often than anything. Basically on day 3 and 4, go ahead and spray some water on there, put a little bit of leave-in conditioner and detangle it and define the curls and just let it air dry again. That way you can minimize the amount of tangles that are in your hair over time throughout your wash and go period. And then you don't have to worry about it getting super, super tangled and then you have a big mat, a huge dread in the back of your head, and you're trying to get it out, and then you're causing so much breakage. I used to have a lot of really short hairs in the back, and I realized that that's what it was from. So I just started taking better care of that hair back there, giving it extra moisture and making sure that I detangle it regularly. I think this is I never heard this tip before. Not the saying anyone's never heard of it, but I kind of think it's low-key original. So you guys should definitely try it because I think it'll help you out a whole lot, especially when it comes to detangling. That's always the worst part. It's always a huge dread back there. So yeah. My next tip is, I kind of already touched on it, but it's basically not to comb or brush your hair while it's dry. This is going to cause just uber breakage in your life. Do not do this. Do not do this. I'm sure you guys know this, but maybe some of you don't. So when your hair is dry, you never want to comb it or brush it, because why? It's dry. It doesn't have anything to help bring its elasticity to life, and that's what water and moisture does. So never detangle your hair or try to brush it or comb it while it's dry. That's just going to be a headache and a nightmare. Always saturate your hair in water before you try to brush it or comb it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, I just thought I would include it because it's very important. So my next tip is about protecting your hair. So there's lots of ways you can protect your hair, and the first way is just from the elements. Of course, you can put a scarf over your head or wear a hat if it's cold outside or if it's like really hot outside. My favorite way is to use an oil to seal my ends. I've mentioned the Show Products oil so many times on my channel already. That's my favorite oil to use to seal my ends and to make sure that they stay protected, whether they're touching my clothing or whether I'm going out in the cold, or just to seal in the moisture of the conditioners and leave-ins that I've already put in my hair. So you just want to make sure that you seal as much moisture as possible, and that's a really good way to protect your ends, is with an oil, and all over your hair too, of course. And then of course you can protect your hair from like friction and rubbing against things and at night. So I like to use a scrunchie. I meant to bring it in here, but I forgot, but just like a satin scrunchie, and that's what I use for my pineapples. Like the regular elastic bands also don't have one of those, but you know, the regular hair ties, those are not very good, especially for pineapples, because pineapple, even though it's like really, really loose, that actually makes it worse in my opinion, because your hair can move, like it can rub against that so much, or against that hair tie, and it can cause a lot of like friction and like tension and damage on that part of your hair. So you really want to watch that. I prefer a scrunchie. Sometimes I use the hair tie if I can't find my scrunchie, but it's better to use the scrunchie for like a pineapple and whatever. Pineapple in your hair is basically pulling it all up to the top of your head and just wearing it up there like at night, or if you're working around the house, or even if you're going out, I wear it out sometimes too. So that's a good way to protect your hair. Also, using a satin scarf, a satin pillowcase, all these things are really good to protect your hair at night from rubbing on your pillow, rubbing on your clothes, just trying to protect your hair as much as possible from things that are going to be rubbing against it, because that's what can cause the ends of your hair to become frayed and things like that. Next is drinking lots of water. Water is just a hydrate. It hydrates you, so it can help hydrate your hair, making sure that you're growing the healthiest hair you can. Obviously, it's good for your skin and your body in general. So, of course, I'm going to include it in this video because it's very appropriate, because water, your hair, you want your hair and your body, your skin, everything to be healthy from the inside out, and drinking lots of water is going to do that for you. And next is to put your hands down. And when I say put your hands down, I mean manipulation. I'm really bad at this. Like, I'm telling you guys that to put your hands down, but I'm telling myself, because I literally touch my hair all the time. And you guys will get so annoyed, like with my hair straight, I can't stop touching it. But it's better. See, I can't stop. I can't stop. But it's important not to be touching your hair all the time, because textured hair cannot handle a lot of manipulation. And the more textured the hair, the less amount of manipulation that it can handle. So the more you manipulate it, the more damage that you can cause to it. And it's just potential for damage. You know, I'm not saying touching your hair is going to damage it, but if you're twisting your hair in your fingertips, like, it's going to get worn out at some point, you know? So you want to make sure that you're really minimizing that. Just try to let your hair live on its own. I know it's hard. It's so hard. But just try to do that, you know, the best that you can. And through all these things, that was pretty much my last tip, but through all these tips, it's just being aware of certain things, you know, taking the steps that you can to retain the length in your hair. Like I said, the color and the heat, the trimming, all those things. All these things are things that are going to help you retain the length in your hair as much as possible. My hair has literally grown so much since I started implementing a lot of these things. And I think it could be even faster. Like, I think I would need to trim my hair even less often if I did a lot of these things even better. But I'm going to show you guys how long my hair has been growing, because I've been pretty surprised and it's been pretty cool. So let me show you. So this is not even like straight. It's just, but yeah, so my hair has been growing really long. Okay, you guys, so as you can see, my hair has been growing a lot. I can't wait. I'm going to use that Ion Steam Pro brush thing this week. So you guys look out for that video on my channel. I'm really excited about trying something with it. Ooh. So that's that's pretty much that, guys. That's this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell. I'm posting like literally every day of December. I have a lot of good stuff planned, so stay tuned. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.